The end is nigh. The Master did not say how it would occur, but I know that no matter the danger, only one force on Nirn can stop it. Magic is the very fabric of fate. Only with it at our side can the peoples of Tamriel endure. Many already understand the value that the arcane arts provide, but not those who reside in the northern realms. They are unwilling to let go of grudges against dark mages of the past. The Nords of Skyrim believe that magic is volatile and dangerous, a force that cannot be controlled. They are haunted by the horrors of their past, and allow their shared trauma to cloud their minds. All they see are Falmor soldiers with bolts of lightning, necromancers desecrating the fallen, and summoners beckoning oblivion once more. If I am to save the world, then I must show the Nords that they are mistaken. I will show them that mages can be a guiding force for good. I shall heal the wounded, calm the violent, and bring light to the darkest corners of the land.
The major skills for this build are Restoration and Illusion. I went up to Expert Restoration in order to halve the casting cost of all the spells I had in my school. Beyond that simple perk, I also had Ward Absorb, making it so that any spells that hit my wards restored some magicka to me. If you get the timing right, this can actually make it so wards return more magicka than they cost to cast. Final perk in this tree is Recovery, increasing magicka regen rate. This is a great perk for any mage, and for a pure magic build like this one, getting both ranks is well worth it. In the Illusion tree, I also pushed up to the Expert perk, as this was the highest level of spell I was casting at any point. With spell cost reduced, it's now onto the perks which make illusion spells more effective, starting with Hypnotic Gaze. This can be picked up early on and increases the potency of all calm-based spells, making it so that you can make higher level targets chill out. Next we have Animage, making all your illusion spells work on higher level animals. And I also picked up Kindred Mage, which does the same thing, but for people. The minor skills for this build are Alchemy, Alteration, and Conjuration. The first perk in the Alchemy tree is Alchemist, and with each rank it improves all potions and poisons you craft by 20%. This build focuses on potions rather than poisons, so the next perk I picked up was Physician, making potions that restore health, magicka, or stamina stronger. This is great early on when you need to get magicka back in a pinch. Final perk I picked in this tree was Benefactor, making all beneficial potions 25% stronger. This is great for any Fortify style effects you have, giving you a way to make your spells more powerful than they already were. In the Alteration tree, I only went up to the Apprentice perk, as I didn't find myself feeling the need to cast any of the higher tier spells. And from this, I was also able to start investing into magic resistance. I only had 2 ranks rather than the full 3, but this still gave me a solid 20% resistance to all spells. Finally we have Conjuration, where the only perk I went for was Adept Conjuration. Frustratingly, this does require a trio of perk points to unlock, as you first need to purchase Novice and Apprentice Conjuration in order to reach Adept. A bit pricey in terms of perk points just to halve casting costs, so probably worth focusing on the other perks I mentioned first. It's now time to talk about the equipment this build uses. I do have a few pieces which were added with Anniversary Edition, though all the essential stuff is base game, so if you're not playing on Anniversary Edition, then don't worry. You can still play this build just fine, just pick some different boots, gloves, and a different ring. First up is the namesake of the build, Morokei. This provides a bonus 100% regen rate to magicka, helping you cast spells more frequently. It also counts as a piece of light armor, which is why I didn't bother with the mage armor perk in Alteration. Next piece is a far stronger one, the Archmage's Robes. This provides the same level of magicka regen, while also increasing how much magicka you have by 50, and making all spells cost 15% less to cast. Honestly, this is a top tier example of how to make a unique item worth picking up, and for a mage build that uses almost every school of magic, this is the perfect item to wear. For limbwear, I went with the Reforged Boots and Gauntlets of a Crusader. These light armor pieces provide a little extra protection while also reducing the cost of restoration spells and providing 50% disease resistance. One thing to note is that the Crusader items are somewhat bugged, meaning you'll be accused of having committed crimes and being unworthy of the armor even when you haven't. Despite this, you can keep wearing these items and the debuff doesn't seem to actually apply, so you shouldn't need to do the pilgrimage to all the shrines. Still, if you want to avoid any of this, you can always just go with whatever light armor pieces you prefer and enchant them with something helpful. I did also have equipped a mage backpack, which not only provided a nice chunk more carry weight, but also a 20-point boost to magicka. Not a huge increase, but every little helps, and it can be a significant bonus early on. For our necklace, I went with the Sarful Amulet, which reduces the casting cost of all spells by 3%. This is quite a minor reduction, so I wouldn't normally go for it, but with us using 4 different schools of magic, this item becomes somewhat more justified. As for our ring, I picked up the Sovereign Band, which not only increases base magicka by 50, but also gives an extra 10% regeneration for magicka. Just a great all-round ring for any spellcaster. As well as the standard equipment section, I've also decided this build could use a spells section, so that I can go over the sorts of spells I was casting from each school of magic. First up is Alteration, which serves primarily as a general utility school of magic. Light spells are good for exploring in dark caves, water breathing will allow you to search sunken ships, and you can always make money by transmuting iron into gold. As well as utility, you can also cast flesh spells to grant some extra armour in a fight. Ideally, you wouldn't get hit at all, but some added armour might just save you from an errant arrow or axe swipe. In the School of Illusion, Rally is the main spell I relied on. This increases the health and stamina of your ally, which is critical for a build like this that takes on more of a support role in combat. On top of this, you can also cast Calm and Fear spells to help control the flow of the battle, and stop you and your follower from getting overwhelmed. Calm spells are the more important of the two, allowing you to avoid combat entirely if you so wish, and even spare a few lives. Fear on the other hand feels like the worst spell to use, morally speaking, but it does keep the target marked as hostile while preventing them from attacking you, which can prove helpful for ensuring your follower can actually finish them off. On the Conjuration side of things, there were only 2 spells I cast, Banish Daedra and Banish Undead. While these spells can technically remove low-level undead or summon Daedra right away, what is more likely to happen is that they deal a little damage to the target, make them fear you so they run away, and stagger them if they're too strong for the other effects. While not as good as an insta-kill, these are still some pretty powerful effects. It is worth noting that Banish Undead is an Anniversary Edition spell, but you can always use Turn Undead Restoration spells as a base game alternative. And speaking of restoration, this perfectly valid school of magic is most well known for healing spells. While healing yourself is obviously important, what you also want to make sure you do is heal up your ally. They're the ones tanking damage, so ensuring they don't fall in combat is critical for success. I mentioned earlier we have the Ward Absorb perk, and that means you'll be wanting to cast wards whenever mages start targeting you with spells, in order to prevent the damage and steal some magicka from them too. Finally, you can pick up some Repel Undead spells if you don't have access to Banish Undead. This character is a High Elf, meaning they not only start with 50 extra points of magicka, but they also have the Highborn power, allowing you to rapidly regenerate your magicka at a staggering rate. These 2 effects combined really do make High Elves the best magicians. For a standing stone, I went with the Action Arc Stone. This grants yet another 50-point boost to magicka, along with a 50% chance to absorb spells that are thrown at you. The one downside of this stone is a 50% slower magicka regen effect, but we already have items which more than counteract that, so the downside really isn't that big a deal. With all these boosts to base magicka, you should end up with 320 magicka to play around with. That's a pretty high amount, but still not enough, as I'd also recommend putting all of your level ups into the magicka stat, at least to begin with. You want to keep pumping magicka until you never again find yourself running out of it, and only start investing in health or stamina once you have more magicka than you know what to do with. I had a grand total of 550 magicka points when playtesting, which felt like plenty, so I'd certainly advise making it so that you have at least 500 points to work with. The main faction for this build will be the College of Winterhold. Not only are they required for a lot of your equipment, but this will also be the perfect place to study and learn new spells. They may not have the best reputation throughout Skyrim, but hopefully you can change that. On top of this faction, you will also want to help out as many people as possible across the realm. Your goal is to show people that magic can be a force for good, so helping out regular folk with your talents is just as critical as improving the reputation of a college. Make sure to do good deeds whenever the opportunity presents itself. Possibly the most critical choice for this build is your choice of companion to travel with. Ideally, you want to travel with a strong Nord warrior, a native of Skyrim who can see firsthand how much your magic can help them and their kin. A strong early choice would be Oathgird the Unbroken. She's a solid melee character, and you can grab her early on by winning a fistfight against her in Whiterun. A bar brawl isn't exactly in the nature of this build, but you can use restoration spells here to show how magic can make even a physically weak mage beat a muscular warrior in combat. While Ufgird is a solid early choice, I actually went with Mjolnir the Lioness as my main follower. She has a higher level cap and some really strong base stats, though you first need to be level 14 before the quest to retrieve her soul can be acquired, so you'll need to do a fair bit of leveling before she's even an option. Followers are incredibly important for support builds like this, as they're the ones doing the actual fighting, so make sure to give them all the good equipment you find so they have a solid armor rating and a powerful weapon to do battle with. Of course, this doesn't actually matter much if your follower instead decides to perpetually use a hunting bow. There's a bit of a bug in Skyrim, shocking, I know, but this particular bug is to do with the invisible hunting bow that every follower has in their inventory. Even strong two-handed melee warriors will put away their enchanted warhammers in order to miss shots with a starter bow. If you are playing on the unofficial Skyrim patch or have any follower focus mods installed, then you may be able to remove this useless weapon from their inventory. I don't play modded, which meant I had to deal with a follower who was constantly performing suboptimally, but at least it means I know for certain that this build can still work, even when the game tries to screw you over. This is a support build who relies on their follower to deal damage. Playing in this way is likely very different to how most people play the game, as the way combat normally pans out is that the player deals a bunch of damage, while the follower lags behind and mops up. As a support build, you instead let your companion go ahead of you while supporting them with various spells. Rally is a good starting point, instantly giving your ally some extra health and stamina to work with. Once they get into the thick of things, you should then follow behind them and cast Heal Other whenever you see their health bars start to shrink. Ideally, enemies will be targeting your follower rather than you, but if attacks start coming your way, then there are a couple of ways to defend yourself. Flesh spells are good for mitigating harm from physical attacks, and wards can prevent magical attacks entirely, but should be used sparingly as they can be quite a drain on your magicka supply if left up for too long. When it comes to spells that you can cast on enemies, you do have a few choices. For Undead or Daedra, you have the respective banish spells, which serve as the only damaging spells in your arsenal. They're not particularly punishing for an enemy to go up against, but it at least gives you a slight offensive ability. When facing down people and animals, you instead rely on illusion magic. Calm spells are great for removing enemies from a fight, and sometimes even avoiding combat altogether. If you want to remove an enemy from a fight but still want your follower to finish them off, then instead use fear spells. These don't feel as thematic for the build, but they were a little too useful to pass up in my playtesting. Battles with a support style of play have a tendency to drag on a lot longer than normal. Followers sadly suck so often, but if you're not a patient person, then this sort of build genuinely just might not be for you. That being said, this sort of build is great for if you want a fresh way to play Skyrim, and almost encourages you to avoid combat at times, rather than rush in whenever you can. While the background footage for build videos does tend to be very combat focused, as that's what's most visually interesting, you can still have a lot of fun playing Skyrim without being incredibly rowdy. Talk to NPCs, start up a farm, explore the wilderness, and just drink in all that this game has to offer. This does also tie in with the role-playing side of things, as this is a character who wants to show the world that magic is a good and helpful thing that should be embraced. For this reason, I avoided any spells that felt like they'd give spellcasters a bad reputation. That's why there's no destruction school in this build, and also why conjuration was heavily limited. Summoning demons and raising the dead is hardly going to get people on your side. Likewise, I avoided frenzy spells, which while incredibly powerful, would be pretty distressing to see in person, as whipping people into a murderous frenzy is exactly the kind of thing that makes the common folk mistrust magic users. Your entire goal is to improve the reputation of magicians in Skyrim, so as well as avoiding all the bad things that magic can do, you also want to highlight the good that it can achieve. Heal others with restoration magic, calm tempers with illusion, and show the Nords that mages are on their side. Thank you all for watching the second build in my Dragon Priest Mask series. I'll be presenting another next month, so make sure you're subscribed if you want to see what else is to come. Hit the like button if you appreciate all the work I put into this video, and if you are able to, then check out my Patreon page, where you can help fund special projects like these, and get your name in the end credits too. I want to quickly mention that I have started a Skyrim challenge run over on my second channel, so I'll make sure there's a link to that which you can follow, if you like seeing just how much I struggle with followers in this game. Anyway, I've kept you all for long enough, so all that's left to say is, as always, thanks for watching. Sarge out.